Welcome in, everyone, to Spiritual Roots Podcast with me, Misty, where we talk about life, the magical, the mundane, and everything in between. Today, I'm welcoming back Dawn. She had her past life regression, and we are going to chat about it today, and I'm really excited. Welcome back, Dawn.
Hello.
I'm so happy for this.
I'm really excited to share it because it was something that I've been looking forward to for a really long time. And unfortunately, Mallory's dog got really sick on the day that it was supposed to happen originally. And so it pushed it back even further. And so I was really, really excited for it by the time the day finally came.
Oh, no, that's a bummer. I hope her dog's okay.
No, she did tell me her dog is stable, doing much better. So I was very glad to hear that when we did finally catch up. So her pup is doing much better.
Good. Yeah, dog people here, everybody. So,
Yeah, I told her, I said, if there's anybody who understands, it's me. I'm a dog mom. I get it.
Absolutely. So I just want to get into it real quick for everybody. So like I said, Dawn was on a previous episode. If anybody wants to go back and listen, she was on the spirituality, same story, different font episode. And that was an interesting ride. I'm so glad that we did that. That was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. That was fun.
And we had talked about her coming back onto the show, so here we're back on now. And so Dawn, just if you would tell us a little bit why you wanted to do the past life regression.
So I think I mentioned it a little bit in the other episode, but it was because I have this like connection to my son that was like almost like physically painful. Like I loved him so much. Like, I mean, I still do, but it was one of those things that I needed to understand why, like what was causing this thing, like that it started to feel like it was overtaking me. Like I couldn't even talk about him without wanting to cry for no good reason. I mean, he's Earthside. He's very healthy, like great kid. Love him. Like it was weird how, and I mean, I had chalked a lot of it up to like almost like a trauma bond because when his father and I separated before he was 1. And, we had a lot of really hard years. I mean, it was a struggle for, the first 6-7 years of his life. Oh God, I did it 6-7. Sorry, everybody. And so I kind of was like, well, maybe it's that. And then it didn't feel like that. I couldn't understand it. And then there was also like, there was really 2 parts to it. It was that, because like wanting to understand my soul contract with him, like what is going on there? Like, why is this? Because I felt like just knowing why would help, I just needed to know why and it would help. And it, it has helped. Like I'm able to talk about him without like breaking down in tears, which really seemed weird before, and, the second part was just like this feeling inside me that I've always felt like, I'm different. I don't belong. Like I look at the stars and I'm like, I get homesick, like people who've been on vacation too long, and so I'm like, what is that? It's not like there's like no part of me that's like, I want to die. It's not that. It's like this feeling of just like homesick. And I really was trying to understand that. And then I guess there was a third part. It's like I had done this, it was called a horse and rider reading with this fellow Josh, who has a cool little shop up in Littleton, New Hampshire. And he did a horse and rider reading for me, which was a past life reading. And it had all to do with like, he regressed my history to like always being like the social justice warrior. Like I was a sheriff or something in the South during, slavery times, and like was helping people get to the Underground Railroad. And I was just like, well, that's crazy, because I'm somebody who is constantly just tied up in like the injustice and atrocity of like the world we live in currently, and trying to understand like why I can't take a break. And and so it was just all these things that I was really curious of, like what is feeding all that, and so that was the reason for wanting to have it done. And like Mallory is one that like I think there's lots of people who are out there, but she has her own podcast and she talks about it all the time and just really knowledgeable. And so she was the one I knew if I was going to have it done, I wanted her to do it, because she was like, she's kind of a total gangster in that realm. Yeah. So I booked it. Gosh, and that's the thing with Mallory, if you're going to do one with her, I booked this spiritual past life regression. I want to say it was back in like
Wasn't it the fall or something? Or
No,
summer?
it was before that. It was in the summer.
It
It
was
was like
summer.
in June.
Yeah, I
And
was
I
going to say it was
couldn't
like 6 months, right?
yeah, I couldn't get in with her until it was supposed to be the first week of December, and that was when her pup got sick, and then we rescheduled to the last week of December. So it was just it's crazy. So it was a long time of waiting.
It was wild when you told us. Yeah, Mallory is like, she's so, if anybody doesn't know her podcast, it's Past Life. What is it called exactly?
I think it's the Past Life podcast.
Yes. All right, I'll link it anyway. Yes. It's pretty awesome, actually. My memory is horrible. I apologize.
Well, and I mean, I always just say, like, we talk about it so much that I'm like, Mallory, like, she's my best friend. So, like,
true.
I don't frequently reference her actual podcast. I reference her as a person. So I'm pretty sure it's just spiritual or past life podcast.
And you're on the other side of that now as one of her, customers. And I think that's so awesome. And I'm excited to get into the past life stuff. I was so excited. Our group, Dawn told us all about it after. Well, kind of. She touched base. It's a lot. She was so excited to get back to us, and we were so excited to hear about it because none of us have done this, and like this is like a big deal in our little circle. So it was so amazing. I can't wait to hear all about this.
Yeah, it was very cool.
How did she get you into set the scene? Like, how did this start out?
So what you do is you hop on a Zoom call with her. And, she just chit chats with you a little bit. She kind of asks you why you want to do it. Just some kind of like getting to know you stuff. But also so that she is kind of guiding it appropriately to make sure you are going to discover what you need to discover. And when I say guiding, it's not like she is in any way giving you any kind of innuendos. She's not influencing you in any way. What she does is she asks you questions. So anyway, we'll get more into that. But so you have a little meet and greet on the Zoom. And then what she has you do, she makes sure you're in a quiet room, in a quiet space. My dog's mostly participated in helping out with that. And she has you just lay I was on a laptop, obviously. So I put it next to me, but she wants you to get into a super comfortable position. So I just have it laying next to me so she can see me. She's like, it's important that I can see your face. And so I'm laying down with the laptop next to me, and then I just get really comfortable. And, she just basically, she has this also, I think her voice is 80% of how effective she is, because she has this voice that's very soothing and calming and just warm. So it's super easy for her, I think, because she just has this natural voice that's right for it. And she just counts you back. I think it's from 20, but slowly. And she's kind of telling you what you're seeing and how relaxed you're feeling. And you're basically melting into the bed and that kind of thing. And, I kind of describe it almost like a really personal, deep meditation where what she's asking you to do isn't, it's not like the crazy stuff you see on videos where you hear a phone ring and you go try to answer somebody's shoe, right? It's not like that. It's basically what she's asking you to do is to just not fight yourself to find logic, right? So many of us have thoughts and we're like, that's totally crazy. That's not real. You know what I mean? And so what she's asking you to do is just open up your mind, and whatever's there is there. Don't try to argue with yourself about what you're seeing because that doesn't seem logical. So it's really just letting go of that really firm grasp on logic that we constantly have day in and day out. And just basically, she said, I want you to really lean into whatever you're seeing, whatever you're feeling, physically, emotionally, and, I went through a real range of things that happened there. I felt like I had these moments of just really deep knowing, I don't know why I know, but I know. Or I would see visions, in my mind, I'm seeing visions, or I would feel pressure on my chest, or at one point my arms started to raise. It was very weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's kind of how it happens. And then so she starts out and she says, and I might get emotional because I definitely did a lot of crying during this.
That's okay.
But the first place she takes you to is she says, I want you to go back to your very first memory that you have. And the very first memory that I have is I was probably about 2. And I think it was when I was moving to the house that I grew up in ultimately for the rest of my life. I was sitting in a doorway, and sucking my thumb, and I had my piece, which was like this piece of a satin, like it was a satin edge of a blanket that I carried around with me. And it was pink, and I'm sitting there in like little jean overall shorts and just sitting watching because, you know, as a 2-year-old, when you're moving, you don't really know what's happening. Like I wasn't scared, but I was just kind of looking around like, wonder what's going on, you know, because 2-year-olds, that doesn't really register to them.
Yeah.
And, you know, she kind of talks about like, what is she thinking? What's she feeling? All of that. And then she says, now go to her. As you go to her, now what would you do? And I got really emotional, and I said, well, I'd pick her up and I'd kiss her. And she's like, okay, well, what's happening? And I said, well, I would just tell her what's happening. Like, okay, well, we're taking all of our stuff and we're going to put it to in a new house. And like, you know, I was just kind of explaining to her like you would any toddler who you're just trying to help them understand the world they're living in. And, you know, she was like, okay, great. You know, and, you know, she's like, you love her and you're going to take care of her. And I was like, yeah. And it was really interesting because like, I don't know, what was it, the week before? We had done that breath work thing, our Gaia group, and we were talking, and the guest who was doing the breath work stuff, he like totally nailed this inner child thing that I have going on that like blew my mind. And then that was like when I just lost it with her, because I was like, that's what I'm doing again. I'm like trying to help my inner child because that she's got some stuff that she needs support with. So it was really interesting that the first thing that happened was like inner child stuff. I was like, well, okay. Message received.
Yeah, that came up at Yule too, didn't it? When we were doing our ritual, that subject was also brought up.
Yeah.
So that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's been a theme for sure.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Real quick, I just want to bring up the hypnosis. I think it's QHHT that she does, right? The one that Dolores Cannon does.
Yes, she actually is. She definitely recommended a lot of Dolores Cannon stuff to me. So yeah, that's what she's doing.
So people know. All right, cool.
Yep. And so then the next was, she's like, go to the womb, like your mother's womb. And like, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you experiencing? And, you know, it was really interesting because all I could feel and think was like, I was feeling a lot of like what my mother was feeling, like thoughts and feelings like about my mother wondering, you know, like wanting to be a really good mom and like wanting to be different than her mom, you know, because my mom grew up with, you know, a mom who grew up in like the Depression era. And she was not the kind of person who gave you like a lot of love traditionally. She was very, you know, she was tough and she was kind of cold, but like the way she showed you love was like these beautiful things that she made you. And, you know, my mom is not that way. I mean, my mom is also very talented and gives you beautiful things to show she loves you, but she is more affectionate than my grandmother ever was, but not the mom that's like runs up to you and hugs you. You know, it's just not, it's not who she is. I mean, she's a wonderful mother, but she was not like that huggy kissy mom. And so like I was feeling her like anxiety about that. And then she was like, okay, now what are you feeling? And I was like, I'm tired already. And she's like, okay, talk about that. And I was like, I know it's going to be hard. Like this life isn't going to be just sailing through it. Like I'm, you know, born into wealth. I mean, if you go back and listen, I was not brought up in a family that had struggles, but like it was not just going to be this really cush, easy life. And, you know, I mean, my story has had its challenges like everybody's does, but it was like me feeling like I chose this. I chose to be tired all the time, kind of what I feel. Yeah. And that later comes up, having to do with sort of that horse and rider reading and, you know, the social justice stuff that I talk about, like where I'm constantly just fighting a system that's broken and trying to advocate for people. But I was like feeling that like coming in because that was the mission chosen this time, right? Like that was what my soul contracts are all related to. And, you know, that kind of thing. So it was interesting that like, even in the womb, I was like, oh, I'm already tired.
I think it's interesting because I remember when you told us about that reading that you had with Josh, and it's so true. And I think that it's fascinating that it's connected with this actual hypnosis experience that you've done. And I can't be denied, Dawn, you are a warrior. I mean, if anybody needs help, Dawn is there. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. I mean, like it's like, it's such a, I mean, and right now is a really exhausting time to be somebody like me. You know, and it's hard, but so at any rate, it was one of those things that I was like, oh, that's kind of funny that, all right.
I'm tired. Okay.
Yeah, tired. Well, that's just the theme. Again, another one. And so then she says, okay, now I want you to zoom out. And she's like, I want you to just, what is the next thing that, like, we're leaving that, we're going further back. What's the next thing that just, what appears? Where are you? What's around you? And I was like in Ireland for sure.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was like this grassy, big open space. And like, I could see the ocean and like the rock ledges. And she's like, okay, well, who can you see yourself? Like who are you? Are you male, female? So she always asks, like, do you know if you're male? Do you know if you're female? She asks you to describe what you look like. I was a female. I was wearing a very pretty green, like velvety dress that had like gold embroidery on it. I had very, very long, wavy red hair. And then she asks you, like, what are you feeling? Why are you there? Like, what kind of thing? And it was because I wanted to get away from where I was, but it was not like fleeing a dangerous situation. I just like needed some space to get away. And so I was like out in this area. And then she kind of walks you through, like, what is your life like? And I couldn't exactly, like, I'm sure there's a word for it, but it was definitely like the 1600s, or if not before, maybe the 1500s. But I was part of a family that was really wealthy. And it was like, I kept seeing horses and like this big stone compound. Like it was like my father was like a horse breeder or something. And like we were really well off because of that or something. I never really could articulate what it was, but it had to do with horses. And like my family was very wealthy, but it was like known that I had to carry on this thing, this family business, whatever it was. And it was really unfulfilling to me because there was like no purpose in it for me. Like it was just a thing to keep wealth and land. And it was not where my heart was. Like it was just really an unfulfilling life to me. And she's like, talk me through, like, she's like, go to the end of your life. Like what's happening now at the end of this life. And I was alone, but I wasn't alone. Like I had like maids or like nurses in the room. And I was just in the bed by myself, and I was really sad because it was just this life that was unfulfilled. I didn't do anything that mattered to me. I just carried on whatever this family business was that, had no meaning to me. I didn't even end up having my own family.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, she was like, that's, she's in. The interesting thing about Mallorie, which I didn't understand until after we finished and recapped, is that she comes along with you on the ride because she has many psychic abilities like clairaudience, clairsentience, like, so she's along for the ride with you, which I didn't realize until afterwards. And so, I thinking back on it now, I kind of chuckle because she's with me. I didn't realize it. So then she's like, okay, zoom out, zoom way out, like above the earth, out into the clouds, past the clouds, like does this whole thing where you zoom out. And she's like, okay, and now zoom in really fast. Where do you land? And I was standing and I was describing the area. I said, it's like I'm in the ocean, but I'm not in the ocean. And this one took me a really long time to articulate. It was, ultimately I turned out to be in Atlantis. I'll spare you all of the me trying to describe what the land was like, because it was like these land rings, and like it was very hard for me to describe because when you're in sort of this meditative state, your ability to describe things becomes less, you become less articulate. And so because you're seeing so much and you see it, but like trying to put it into words is pretty tough. And so basically I was in Atlantis. I was, again, this was an interesting one. She said, are you male or female? And I said, I look female. And she said, how old are you? And I said, I don't know. I have no age. Like I'm timeless. I was like, does that make sense? Like I didn't look, I looked young-ish, like say maybe, I wouldn't say more than 30, I suppose, if you were saying like an age, but I was like timeless. Like I wasn't 30. Like I didn't have an age. It was like me trying to really get through this point of like, I am not physically a human, I guess. Yeah. Where we have that classic age. And then she's like asking about a significant, like how I'm regarded. And I'm like, I'm very highly regarded in the village, or like with the people that I'm with, and almost kind of like high priestessy energy, like, but like village elder, I don't know. Like people would come to me, like I was wise and they trusted me. It was not like a a situation where they like feared me. I wasn't like a ruler or something like that. And then, you know, she's kind of like, well, give me an event that happens. And I was like, there's a wave coming. And I said, I can't, I'm standing on like this high point and I can't see the wave, but I can see the wave, if that makes sense. It's like, I was like, it's like I'm a bird and I can see a wave coming, and it's like I tell myself or tell her that there's a wave coming and I'm trying to get people away. Like I'm trying to get them out. And so she's like, nope, that makes perfect sense. And because it was weird, like it was like I could see the village, I could see myself standing at this high point, and then I could just suddenly see like an aerial view of the ocean and this wave coming, and it was like telling me. And so she's like, well, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm trying to get people out. And then she asks, you know, how successful I was. And she says, you know, like, you know, I said, I think people got out. I think they're, you know, good. And she's like, did you die? And I said, I don't think so. I said, but I just keep seeing myself like at this high point. And so then we kind of move out of that and into the next thing. She's like, okay, we're going to move to like even further out into the clouds. We're going to go out. We're going to go out further. Where are you? And I was like, it was crazy. It was trippy. Like I can still see it so clearly in my mind. I end up in a place that's not Earth. It's like very like, I don't know, foggy, but everything's blue. And there's like these giant like pillars that are blue, and like there's stairs leading up to one of these pillars that's blue, but it's like a building, but it like kind of looks like a natural formation, like almost like a stalagmite, you know, but it's a building. And so I'm like standing there, and she's like, is anyone with you? And I said, yes. I look to my left, and there's this will still make me laugh. If you ever watch, I have the video of it. I was laughing throughout this whole part of the regression. So I'm there with this guy, and she's like, tell me about him. And I said, he's like bipedal, like I am. Oh, well, that's a key thing I actually forgot to explain. This was funny because I didn't explain this to her either again until I got to this. And I said, I'm the same as I was when I was in Atlantis. And I said, and I don't know why, but it feels important to tell you that I look like a bird. Like my head maybe looks like a bird, or I'm wearing like a hood that makes my head look like a bird or something. And she said, okay. And I was the same person, the same being in this place where I'm now standing on a different like astrological plane.
Like you traveled from Atlantis to this place in...
Yeah, like this is like my true form or something. Like this is where I was.
Oh,
I was the same in both places. And, you know, she unpacks all this with me afterwards. But so I'm still this like person who's bipedal, has like a human body. And either my head looks like a bird, or it's like this cloak that makes my head look like a bird. And the guy next to me is very big, very strong looking. He has like a very fancy uniform, almost think like a nutcracker would be wearing, but like everything is blue, like shades of blue and white. And he looks like a lion. His head looks like a lion, and his eyes are like these blue. It's like they're universes in his eyes. And like just that infinite, like starry, it's very, very cool. And I'm just talking to him, and I don't know what he's saying to me. All I'm doing is just like, I know he's really excited to see me, and he won't stop talking. It's like, you know, when you get together with your friends and you haven't seen them in forever, and you're trying to fill them in on everything that's happened. And it's just so funny because like, she's like, keeps asking me questions about me. She's like, is he still talking to you? And I was like, yes. I was like, he won't stop talking. He is so excited to see me. Like, it's like we're besties. And
oh, I love this.
Yeah. And she was talking about how like, again, I'm trying not to spoil the end here, like, because we unpack a lot of this, but she's asking me, and I said, I think he's on Earth with me, but not like with me. Like he's stationed somewhere different on Earth, than I am. And he is kind of filling me in about what he did. And, you know, and it kind of just goes on from there. And that's sort of where we leave it. And she wakes me back up after all of this. Like, I mean, it was a 2.5 hour session. So I'm giving a very fast elevator unpacking of this whole thing. Mm-hmm. But she pulls me out, and then she just is like, wow, you know, because this is where I realized she was with me the whole time. And she's like, so much of this makes so much sense. She's like, you are a blue avian. And she's like, blue avian, like a blue avian starseed. She's like, blue avians are the first that took interest in trying to raise the collective vibration of humanity and like bring us to a higher vibrational state. And she's like, this makes so much sense with like all of the things that you're talking about, with like your social justice stuff, like trying to save the Atlanteans, like, you know, why your first life that you saw wasn't fulfilling, because there was nothing there that was fulfilling in your life that was like doing anything that was meaningful to your soul and to like your mission. And the other guy was a Lyran, and she's like, I saw him in Egypt. He was like stationed in Egypt. And like, it's really interesting because like I have this really interesting draw to Egypt. Like I have the Eye of Horus tattooed on my arm, for example. And like, I've always loved like Egyptian, you know, history and that kind of thing. And so I'm like, it's kind of like, it makes sense because he's like my bestie, I guess. And that's like where he was stationed. Oh God,
Wow.
I skipped over a whole part, so I ruined a little bit of the end.
That's okay.
I'm doing really well keeping it mostly on time.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything that he said to you? Because I need to know.
No, and that was the interesting thing. I said, I can hear him talking, but it was almost like the adults on Peanuts where I was like, wah, 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 wah,
Okay.
wah. Like,
no, that's fair.
You know, like I was really hoping that I would be able to, and he wasn't speaking a language that I currently understand.
Okay.
So like, I think I didn't, but I just knew that he was really excited to see me through his body language and stuff. And God, why am I having such a hard, this is really interesting. I'm having a really hard time remembering this part of the regression. I think it was because it was right before she brought me out, because she was asking me about, this was the last part. This was the last part, like before I left wherever this planet was. I imagine it was Sirius, if I had a guess.
It's my fave.
Yeah. And so she's talking about this friend that I have, the Lyran, and then she's talking about my current like soul contract on Earth, and she's asking me, she's like, are you here? Are you with a soulmate? And then my first answer is like, I sit for a minute and I think, and I say, no. And she's like, And then I say, wait. I was like, I'm here. I was like, it's Caden. That's my child's name. My child who's like almost 20. And, you know, so like, again, Mallory's like knowing all of this. She's like watching me because like she sees it like a half a second before you. So she's like watching me discover this. And so this was where I got really emotional, was Caden wasn't supposed to be here. Like he wasn't part of the original plan, which is why I said no. And then I realized he is here. And it's because he wasn't originally supposed to be in this lifetime with me. It was because she said that, like, I was like this weird, it's so hard to explain the things that your mind sees in actual like verbalized language. It was like me, and then it was like a pod next to me. And it was like he decided like at the last minute that he was going to join me here. Like he got a special permission to be like, I'm going too. And yeah, like he wasn't supposed to be here, but he really wanted to learn from me.
Yeah.
And like I was seeing him in his true form. Like I was avian and like my friend was Lyran. I saw him in his real form, and he is Pleiadian. He is this beautiful blue, like everything's blue. I don't know if that's because I'm avian. I don't know what that is, but everything is blue. Everybody is blue, but like these beautiful shades of like light blues and dark blues. It's just like really, I don't know. It's really magical, but he's Pleiadian, and he's just like, he has a similar kind of, like what he's wearing is very similar to the Lyran, but he is just this glowing, beautiful man with like long, like flowing blonde, blue, white hair, you know, like, so he's a Pleiadian, but he came because he wanted to learn from me specifically because I've been doing this a really long time. But his way is different than mine. But he has the same mission that I have, like the social justice stuff. And he wanted to learn from me because I've been doing it so long, but he's learning to be able to do it in his own way. Yeah. Because the way we change things isn't the same for everybody, like different starseeds. So it was really interesting because it was like in real life, he wasn't really supposed to be here. I mean, it's a lot of information, but I was on birth control and his father didn't think he could have kids, and yet here he is. And so, you know, it was really interesting because it's like a real life thing. Like that kid wasn't supposed to be here, and he was like kicked the door open, is like, I'm coming. He like,
Yeah.
um,
He's a strong kid too.
he's a very strong-willed kid. He's and he's so interesting in his strength because he's so strong and so convicted, yet his methods are so different. And that's the thing, he's so different than me. Like I will say anything to anyone. Like I'm very like you never wonder where you stand with me. I don't mince words. I don't think that telling people things that aren't real or the truth are doing them any favors. Like I think that that's harming them. And he is the same, but his approach is so different in the way that he does things.
I agree. I mean, I don't know. I know Caden, but you know, he's hardly ever around when we're all together.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I totally see that, and he's a hard worker.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. He's quiet, but you can tell he's not afraid to tell you what's up.
Yeah, and he's like he's more subtle.
Yes.
We'll say that.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm just connecting this now, and you probably did too, but as an outsider looking in on this experience that you had, you've always talked about how you felt you were very connected to the Pleiades. You've said that this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And that came through in this experience for you, and I'm getting chills right now because that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Knowing you, Dawn, and your life and your family and what you've talked about prior to this, holy shit, like my mind is blown.
Yeah, I mean, it blew my mind too because like I was so stunned to be like, what, I'm a blue avian? Like what? No, I'm definitely Pleiadian. Like I had always thought that.
Yeah.
Because I had that connection, but it's like, no, that's where my baby came from, is the Pleiades. You know, and it's so interesting to see how that all shook out. And, you know, Caden is just he's such a bright light, and he's, like I said, he's very subtle, and, you know, he's jokey, and, you know, he has the same, he's incredibly intelligent. And, you know, it's just one of those things where like, it kind of sneak attacks you because if you've ever physically laid eyes on my child, he's beautiful. Like he's a very handsome kid. He's very funny. He's charismatic. He's charming, but like, don't let that be that you think he's a meathead. Like he's so incredibly, the depth in this kid, you know, and I've always said that, like, I have all these pictures of him and I've always said he was born a 90-year-old man. I've always said that. I mean, from the moment I laid eyes on this child, like was like a deep thinker. Like there was just this depth in his eyes. Like he thinks, he's so deep. And like, he was the easiest baby. He was so, you know, like just stoic almost, you know, like, and it's just, it makes so much sense. I'm like, oh my God. Wow. Yeah, wow, that all is tied together really nicely.
Yeah, but you also got confirmation of that too. And, you know, maybe a little learning on your part too. And recognizing some of those things.
Yeah, for sure. And so, you know, that was really interesting to understanding the weird dynamic of this current soul contract that was not originally, it was like an addendum.
Yeah, like a last minute ticket.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, so when we came out of it and she's talking about it, she's then like unpacking everything. She's like, you're a blue avian. And, you know, she said, I actually think that you did die in Atlantis. And which is why you only ever saw yourself still standing at that high point. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then she said, and what I saw, she's like, during all of this, so she's having an experience of mine. Well, like she saw another one of my lives that I didn't get to see. And actually it was really funny because I hadn't listened to anything but Christmas music since basically the day after Halloween, like no podcast, nothing. And I mean, like I spent a whole day catching up on Yours Missed. And so I listened to this one that was from it was from December 8th. And she talks about how she does this. Like she will sometimes see other people's lives because it's basically so much information to get out that like we can't do it all in that time. So it's like divide and conquer. She'll end up seeing some of her clients' lives without them.
Yeah.
And so she saw one of mine and she said, I think you died in Atlantis and you came back and you wanted that experience because it was such a beautiful time in your life and you loved it so much. that you came back to Greece, and I about fell out of the bed.
No.
Yes.
No
So
way.
for a little background on that, I went to Greece. For anybody that wouldn't know this, most nobody would know this. I went to Greece back in, I think it was April. And I fell in love with Greece. I was in Santorini for a week, and then I was in Athens for a week. My hotel that I was at, it was at the base of the Temple of Poseidon. So every morning I woke up and could see the Temple of Poseidon.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, she had the same reaction to you when I told her that I was in Greece. She had your exact reaction. She was like, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, I actually have a rock from the Temple of Poseidon that I brought home."
And attached to the ocean. Oh,
yep.
my word.
Yeah, exactly. And she said, so you went back to this life in Greece because it was such a wonderful time that you wanted to like kind of relive it. And she said, except that this time was really bad for women and it really kind of sucked. And she's like, you were kind of disappointed by that. She said, yeah. She said, you had 2 sons though. And this is where it even more makes sense. And she said, you had this one son who was this kid you couldn't tell anything to. He wouldn't listen. He knew everything. And I was like, oh boy, that does sound a lot like Caden sometimes. But he was a total knucklehead, like not Caden in most ways, just like a little bit bullheaded. And she's like, he got himself killed and doing some meathead thing. And you basically died that day internally. And, you know, she's like, because you were like, I knew this would happen. And like, you were always trying to stop him from doing these meathead things. And he died and he was like 21, 22 maybe. And she said, I think as your son gets closer to this age, your body, your soul is physically like freaking out because this is familiar. You're scared this is going to happen to him again because you lost him. And I was like, great. And she's like, but I can tell you, I can tell you that's not going to happen. She's like, he's smart. He's not that kid. Right. He's going to be okay. He's not going to die. And I was just like, ever since then, I've been so at peace. Like, it was like nailed it. Like, I can talk about Caden now without these like weird like, I mean, it was weird that I couldn't even talk about my own kid without crying, right? Like, he's fine, you know? And it just totally and completely nailed the feelings that I was having. It's like this anxiety of like, something's going to happen to him and I'm going to lose him. And, you know, she was like, it's not going to happen. He's not that kid. He's smart. He's got a mission. Like, you know, but that's what your soul is doing. And that's why you're freaking out. And I was like, holy cow. Yeah. It was really cool.
Nailed that.
She really did nail that. It was intense. Like, and just so it was, and this is what I had told her at the beginning. I said, you know, I don't expect this to change my life in the sense that my mission is my mission. What I'm going to do is what I'm going to do. But, you know, like, I feel like I just need to understand it. Like, to be able to keep moving forward, I just need to know why. Why am I feeling these things? Why are these, you know, emotions coming up? What is this, like, connection to Caden? And, like, you know, I mean, I feel like every mom who has, you know, like, their kids at this age and it's tough for them to let go. You know, the empty nester thing really is sucky. But, you know, it's like, I just, you know, a tool to be able to help me let go and let him spread his wings and fly and do what he needs to do. And I was like, I feel like this is going to be a tool in like allowing me to get to that next step to do that. And so it was really helpful, honestly. And so it was just really interesting because she, you know, she was able to see that because I wasn't able to see it. And which was such a key piece of like what I needed to kind of derive from this whole experience. And so she's, you know, like afterwards, like I said, she does like a whole recap at the end and she tells you what she was seeing and what she was feeling. And, it's really interesting, like in hindsight to know somebody was like on that ride with you.
Yeah. You had a partner, you weren't alone. And I think that that's also comforting.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't know it at the time, but still, you know, it's like double validation. I think, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And it's exactly that. And, you know, like I said, it's not like, for those who have never been hypnotized or thinking like, oh, well, she's like putting these thoughts in your head. It's not that at all. Because the only way that she really interacts in those moments is to say, tell me what you look like. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? Who's around you? So like, she's not giving me any kind of like cues. She's just asking me to look around and see like, what am I seeing? So there's no way that she's in any way like influencing what I'm seeing other than to try to like get to the root of the things that I was trying to learn by asking questions about those things.
Right, your own perspective. What what you are actually seeing in this moment.
Yeah, and it was really interesting because when we did talk more about the whole like Caden being here and what have you, he would be absolutely mortified if he heard any of this because like he hasn't heard any of this. And I will say, like, he's so open-minded. Like, I'll tell him. He might, but it's one of those things that I think he's really open-minded to this stuff because, like, let's be honest, most people don't really explore this stuff until they're more established in their lives and older. But he, growing up with me, like, there's that whole saying, like, having a weird mom builds character. Like, he got a real weird mom, so he's got a lot of character. And he is so open-minded to the things that I tell him. Like, I mean, and he's like, he's told me about conversations he's had with his friends where they're like, aliens aren't real. And he's like, are you stupid? Like, there's no physical. And I mean, this kid is like super book smart. Like, he never wanted to go to college or anything. But I mean, this is the kind of kid that was like, wants to take like physics and calculus classes because they're fun, and like, so he's incredibly intelligent. He's like, there's just no mathematical way that we are the only living thing in the universe. And like, so he's not afraid to take those things on. And it's just so interesting because Mallory was saying that he's here to do my work, but do it differently. And that's exactly how he does it. I'm somebody who's incredibly like, I'm at the protests. I'm very vocal, like in my social media. And he is somebody who you're never going to find that kid at a protest. I mean, I think that's just not the way that kids this age influence each other. And so if you like ever see, like I see on Instagram, because Instagram started doing this thing now that shows what people like reshare. Like it'll show like a little bubble that they reshared this thing. That's why it's showing up in your feed. And the stuff that he's sharing is like, it makes me so proud of him in every moment that I see that stuff. He's not resharing TikToks and things about like dance moves. Like he makes his own TikToks about dance moves, but like
I've seen him.
Yeah. He's so funny. But the stuff that he's resharing is exactly like in line in like his take on it. The things that he is so just beside himself about are like really special. And like, he has one-on-one conversations. He has one friend in particular that he's had since he was in second grade that is very, let's just say politically was on the opposite side of what's happening, but he's had many conversations with her and continues to. And in the last one, she was like, yeah, it's not great. I wouldn't do this again, and so like, but it's just one of those really interesting things that like he can, whereas I am so forceful and so just our approaches are so different. He has those intimate conversations with his friends where he's talking to them and that's how he's influencing people. And it's just so like, it makes me so proud again, like almost like watching your kid learn how to walk, like watching how he's doing it differently is like really meaningful to me. And it just like, it really just affirms like that whole thing about how he came here to learn from me, but do it differently.
Absolutely. And you guys are a team.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Like he's trying to reach his generation and it feels like, it may feel slower in my mind, but at the same time, it's probably more effective almost. So is it slower? If he's actually making change, I don't know. But it was, all of it was really, really great to, just kind of understand more about like why I feel homesick, why I have like, why from the moment that I was in the womb was already tired, like what this connection to my son is. And, it was just really, really cool to have that. And I have such like a feeling of like peace and closure. And Mallory was like, she said, you're meant to do something big. Like you're meant to change things. Like something you do will be very meaningful to this mission, like the raising of the collective vibration of humanity. And, you know, I mean, that thing might be having Caden. I don't know what that thing will be, but, you know, it was basically just that, like, this is my lot in life, to always be tired, to be fighting that battle. You know, she's like, but she also, which was super interesting and was something that has come up over and over, even manifested in my physical life. She's like, you have, this is because Mallorie knows nothing about me. It makes me laugh because it's so real, right? She was
Yeah.
talking about how I have this trauma and blockage in my sacral chakra,
Yeah.
which is like the womb.
Yeah.
And also there, it's connected to, God, why am I blanking on that chakra right now? Basically your, not your throat. What's the one right above your sacral?
Oh, your solar plexus.
Yeah, my solar plexus.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I imagine that you're somebody who, she's like, she's like, I want you to really do meditations to, you know, clear your sacral. And she's like, it seems as though you're somebody who has a lot of problems with like digestion. And like, I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me right now? And so, you know, the thing that makes this funny is that I recently had an ablation because my body had gone completely haywire on me and I basically wasn't able to function in my regular life. So that would be the womb chakra situation happening. Like that manifested in my real life. Whatever is happening with this blockage or trauma in my sacral chakra is like manifesting in real life. And then I'm somebody who since my 20s, my very early 20s, has had terrible, terrible digestion issues. Like I've been to multiple specialists, like so many issues. And so I was just like, there's no way she could know that, right? You know, and she even tapped into like my weight, which like I have struggled with my entire life. Like, you know, every eating disorder under the sun and just really unhealthy relationship with my body and my weight. And she's like, it has to do with this heaviness, this was maybe one of the most meaningful things she said to me. She said, you're carrying around a lot of things that aren't yours. You're carrying around the suffering of humanity, and you can't let the suffering of humanity weigh you down because you won't achieve what you need to achieve if you do that. And I was like, fuck. Like it was, you know, because it's so true. Like I get so just like disheartened and broken and sad about the state of humanity. And I get like really just weighed down. And she's like, this, if you can clear this stuff, all of these things will release because it's you carrying around these physical manifestations of these emotional hard traumas that you're trying to fight in real life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, you know, like, and that's, you know, like on the daily when I'm, you know, seeing the news or whatever, I repeat in my head what she said to me. I just say, you cannot let the suffering of humanity weigh you down because you won't get done what you need to get done. And it's like, it's not like give up on the fight, but like, don't carry it with me because this was a really another interesting thing that she had tapped into, which was my sensitivity, which you wouldn't necessarily think that I'm a super sensitive person if you just talk to me because I am so loud and kind of abrasive. But it's almost like a defense mechanism that I created when I was younger. My dad told me once, he said, I didn't know how you were going to survive life because everything hurt you. Everything made you sad. Like if you saw a dead bug, like everything just broke your little soul. And it's not different now. It's just, I have this very tough facade that I wear. And it's no different now. Like, I mean, if I see an animal on the side of the road or any animal that's in suffering or just like any of that stuff, like it literally just breaks my heart. And I'm a highly sensitive person and it's very hard for me to, she described it as being like sticky. She's like, everything sticks to you. And she's like, you have to try to figure out how to not let it stick to you. Like just pull it off. Like you feel it and you're done with it. Like don't carry it. Which was so meaningful because it's so real in my life how I just let these sadness, like the sadness and these sad things affect me for so long and so deeply. And, you know, it was really cool because there's no way she would know that, but she nailed it, you know?
And do you think that, you know, some of that pain and womb energy, issues and the physical manifestations, do you think that's intertwined with your past life? And this came up for me while you were talking about this, and it just came back as a memory for me in prior conversations with you. And if you're not comfortable, it's totally cool. But I remember one time you had told me, or us, that you had done like this divination and were told that you were going to have 3 children.
Mm-hmm.
And I just connected that when you said that you had 2 other sons. And that's just, I don't know. I just made that connection. It could be absolutely nothing. But I think that's wild that that was brought up and you have had 3 children. Well, you know what I mean? Like you had the 2 sons in the past life.
Yeah.
And now Caden. And
Yeah.
I just think that that's wild. I just made that connection. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And I think it's kind of a theme, though, in my life, right? Because I think I mentioned it in the last episode, but like I had wanted more kids and we couldn't, Jason and I couldn't have more kids, my husband. And it really broke me. Like I was in a deep, dark depression for like 3 years. I like didn't come out of my room other than to make food for my family because I was working for myself at the time. And so I just didn't have to interact. And it really destroyed me for about 3 years. And it's one of those things that I find a lot of peace in this now after having this experience, because I think that there's a theme there, right? Like there was the divination about having 3. There was my 2 sons from a past life plus my son from this life. I also have 2 stepkids. So that does make 3.
Yeah.
I also had a miscarriage when Caden was probably, I don't know, he was probably 4 with an ex-husband, not his father. And I had an abortion when I was I was like 17 or 18. And so that also makes 3. And so there's like a theme here, right? Like it happened. It just didn't look like it. I didn't look like I wanted it to look like, or I thought it should look like. And I'm very happy with it. Like now with my 2 stepkids, I mean, they're adults too. I never get to see them, but I love them dearly and they have enriched my life so much. So it was just like, I got really hung up on what I thought it was supposed to look like versus seeing what it did look like, and then tying it back again to like the 2 sons from a past life. So it's just a really interesting, like that number 3 is really interesting in my family, as a mother kind of thing. Yeah.
I would look at that just on a personal level. I just made that connection. I just felt like I needed to bring it up, not necessarily to dive into it, but just to make that connection about a prior conversation.
Yeah.
Because 3 is all about creativity, isn't it? And that's attached to our sacral chakra too.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's just some numerology I threw in there. Sorry.
No, I love that. Because like honestly, it was funny. It's true though. Like right, that numerology piece of it, and like again, like that tying things together in a way that you stop with what you expected and just see what's real, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, creation number 3.
Yeah. Yep. Which is funny because we had talked about like numerology and wanting to get more into that.
We did, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah, it's fascinating that this is all kind of connecting back to things that we talked about prior.
Yeah.
And this came up in your regression as well.
Yeah.
I just think it's just so fascinating. And I wanted to bring up one thing. When we're just going to backpedal for just a second because I feel like I also needed to bring this up because this popped up. When she was talking to you about carrying the weight of the world in your body. Mm-hmm. And I read, or I listened to, The Body Keeps the Score, and I wanted to bring that up because that book is so powerful, and I'm sorry I was late to the party in reading that or listening to it. It's a thick book, so I listened to it on my way into work. But that's a powerful, powerful thing, and stress and trauma, create our physical problems, and that can, I connect it also to like the past life thing that she was bringing up with you, and that you're sensitive and you hold the weight of the world in your body, and how can that be released? Have you done any meditations yet with that? Have you worked on that at all?
I am trying to. I don't really know how. Because like it's been a running joke, right? Like that, like I fall asleep during meditation. But I'm getting better at it because I have actually meditated a couple of nights last week, and then we obviously had that really amazing sound bath that we did. Which that's a whole other thing. I can't wait for you to have Jeffrey on. not really knowing how to do that, but I'm actively trying to work through how, because like I went and I found like on you can find anything on YouTube.
Sure
Um
can.
I found a YouTube that was, I just wrote in like sacral meditation, and it came up with one of those channels that's just like an ongoing like loop of very
Mhm.
long, like 23 hours of like basically frequency.
Yeah.
And so I started with that, and like I kind of just will like put my hands on my womb area and just say like, you know, just work through thoughts on how to heal it and release and all of that. And I'm trying really hard, and it was, God, we could do a whole nother episode on like the sound bath thing and how like my whole sacral area was so tight and just painful, like my lower back, my hips, all of that, when we went into the sound bath. And when I came out, I felt like I could do backflips. Like I
Yeah.
hadn't felt that real, like limber and free and loose and without pain in, I can't remember how long. So there's so much. I mean, there's so much,
That
but
was
it's,
amazing. It
yeah,
really was.
it's just so incredible and like magical to see how all of these things, as I continue in this journey, to see how they tie together and how they, like, the healing possibilities that are out there, and just like the power of our own minds
Yeah.
and sound. And whew, it's just like, I don't know, it's so magical, and it makes my heart so happy. And I just like, I want it for everybody to have these experiences.
Yes. If more people were open, and I think a lot of people are getting to be that way, alternative ways or the first ways. I mean, sound has been around for the beginning of time, hasn't it?
Right.
But how do we harness that and use it in a healing way? And sound baths are. When I first went to like a full hour long sound bath, laying on the floor, it it changed something in me, Dawn, and I'm glad that we got to experience it with you.
Hmm.
Your first sound bath and the excitement in Dawn's body, like you could just see that it was amazing, listeners. Her reaction to it, it was just seeing it from a different perspective and not as the person was
Yeah.
fun to watch. So exciting. The energy was just so uplifted, and not that it
Yeah.
was down going in, but afterwards it was because you really do. Your energy goes through a change and a movement during those, and the meditation and the breath work included. It was just a whole package, and it was really awesome.
Yeah, it was 6 o'clock on a Friday night. So, it's like, it's dark, it's cold,
Yeah.
and so like, that's kind of the energy you walk in with. You're like, oh God, how am I still awake right now? And, it's like, why am I out of the house after dark? And then afterwards, it was just like, I don't know, it was like, I just, if I could explain like the way it felt, it was like fizzy, right? It was like these
Yeah.
bubbles of like, just like, it was so palpable. I don't know. It's hard to explain if you've never done it, and everybody should do it. Find a sound bath near you, and it's so beautiful to see. Like, and I think this is like the stuff that makes my heart happy, right? Because like my soul's journey is to raise the collective vibration of humanity. That's like my job. And to see it happening through old ways, and to see people like going backwards, going within, going back to traditional, going back to the earth for remedies. And it's like we're in this really juxtaposed position of, you have, and that's how you can see it, right? Like, you're like, oh, more people are open to it. Well, like, that's the point. Like, the
Right.
collective vibration is raising. People are seeing the old way is the way we need to go back to, with earth, and just going within, and not these external ego driven things that are happening. And it's like, in my mind, the way I see the world is like literally yin and yang right now. It's like these awful, just like traumatic things that are happening, and then there's like this other side of it that is so quiet and so peaceful. And it's like people just kind of putting their arm around somebody, seeing that they need that, and like saying, come along with me, and showing them these things, which is like why we all dive into 9,000 subjects, right? Because
Right.
we're all like, what is the thing that I can connect to somebody else to, and bring them in and bring them with us into this like light?
Yes. Absolutely. And for anybody who wants to know, it's Jeffrey Warren. I'll
Mm.
link his business, Aria, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yeah, it's like
And
Aria Wellness.
yeah, and he's out of Merrimack, New Hampshire. But he does travel up to the Upper Valley up here. That's where we caught him, and it was magical. It was so. Oh my goodness! I
Mm.
slipped into a little past life. I think. Remember
I
the
know, that was so cool.
the gongs when he was playing the
Yeah.
gongs? Just a quick snippet. I like
Yeah.
went into like this Japanese battlefield, and then when he went into the chimes, I started to come back into the town after this battle had happened. It was wild. Like
That was
it's
so
such a
cool.
journey, and it's I don't know. It's wild.
It's yeah, it's super meditative. Like when he was doing
Absolutely.
the wave drum, I went back to Atlantis. Like my brain went straight back to Atlantis. Like I went back to another life. So like I have no doubt in my mind you absolutely hit a past life with the gong thing.
Yeah, and the waves of you in Atlantis,
Yeah.
it was just incredible. And I'm glad we all got to do it together. It was so much
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, highly recommend that.
How did how did she take you out? Just real quick, how did she take you out of the hypnosis? Because I saw the video of you, partial video, and you
Mm,
looked very relaxed and like you didn't look like you were hypnotized at all. Your facial expressions were all like if we were talking to
yeah.
face. It was
Yeah.
wild. I was like, wow, all right. How did she take you out of it? Like,
Um
how does that work out?
see if I can remember that. I think it's yeah, it's just a count back. So she counts
Oh,
back.
okay,
Yep.
got you.
She just says, we're gonna come back, and then she counts you back out, and then does the whole. It's kind of typical of like when you're doing a guided meditation, like starting to feel your body again, starting to
Yep.
wiggle, those kinds of things. So she kind of just takes you back out through a count back out, and that gives you a minute to like come to your senses, and then
Yeah.
starts talking about what she saw.
That's cool. How did you feel after, like, the day after or the minute after? How
I
did that
mean,
work?
in the time since then, I have felt so much lighter. Like I just felt like I could breathe again. You know, it was like I felt like I've always been taking these shallow breaths, and like I could breathe again. Like I felt light. Like I didn't feel this heaviness in my chest that I constantly carry around with me. You know, even to the point where like with my son, I mean, he lives somewhere else. Like, and I would freak out if I would make him text me every night before he went to bed, and like if he forgets, like I don't freak out. Like I don't worry so much. It was just really peaceful, honestly. Like it really gave my mind literal peace. So it's literal peace of mind. Like I just feel so much like the understanding. Again, not that it changed like anything that I thought I would be doing. It reinforced it, but also just feeling lighter, like trying not to let that heaviness stick to me, and not being weighed down by the suffering of humanity in order, like I can't let that happen if I'm going to help. Um, it just was like immediately after I felt it, it literally felt like a weight had been taken off my chest.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you got that knowing and that knowledge done because, oh, I'm just so happy for you. I know that it's been a, a struggle, for lack of a better word, and
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you did this and we got to listen about it and be on the ride from day one when you scheduled this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I would recommend it to anybody, even if it's just like to learn more about yourself. Like
Yeah.
it's so, because it's the things that we push down, the things that we think are nonsensical and crazy and weird. And it's just like really freeing to like let those see the light of day, and give them merit, and let them actually be your guide, and not just like, oh, that's weird thought I had.
Yes. Right. Yeah. The brain is a incredible, incredible thing, and the body is also an incredible thing, and it stores so much.
Hmm.
Like a crystal, that energy,
Yeah.
that knowledge, it's in there and it's inherent and it follows us, I believe, as well.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Dawn. This was so fun. What
Thank
a
you for
ride.
for having me back. I'm so excited to share with people, and I really hope that this, somebody hears this and they're like, I'm going to go do that, or I'm going to do a sound bath, or whatever it is to help like free their soul and like loosen up, anything stuck in them, and just like make them feel empowered to like take their soul back. I hope
Yeah,
somebody hears this and like it does something for them that helps them.
absolutely. I agree 100%. And, get rid of that energetic gunk that's
Yeah.
stored up inside of us.
Yeah, like the energetic lint roller that sticks to us.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, thank you, Dawn, so much for coming on. I had such a fun time chatting with you.
Thank you for having me, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too, friend. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for coming along for the ride, travelers. If you're enjoying the show, please share, like, or leave a review. wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, or come join me over on Patreon, where you'll get show updates and have early access to new episodes every Thursday. You can also find me on Buy Me a Coffee. If you have ideas for the show or would like to say hello, you can email me at spiritualrootspodcast@gmail.com. Please keep sharing the show so we can keep finding our spiritual roots together.